Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. It's EST afternoons. Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, and the man of the hour last night, our producer, Zachticum. We'll get to that here shortly. Thanks for joining us on a very, very busy day. It's great to have hockey back, Gager. It's just being on the X machine and seeing all the insiders and all the reporters and everybody's just tweeting different things and updates and all that. So it's great to see that. We're going to have a fun show. Ross Levitan will continue our NHL previews. We'll go to Ottawa and talk to Ross. Of course, he's a host on Locked On Senators podcast. He's great. He's going to bring the heat, and if anyone can cover the Sens, it's him because he's got the beat on that team. And at 2:20, Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic here, as the Oilers, a lot of them met with the media today as they did their medicals and fitness testing. So we'll get to a lot of Oiler news here, Gager. But quickly recap what was a fantastic night last night at the ESTs. Just a phenomenal time, Gager. We got to present. I know you were complaining that I was grabbing your arm too much because I get a little emotional, but
you're a grabber. I didn't know this about you. There's who else does that a lot is Sean Brown.
Really?
Yeah, he does it too. So you were very grabby.
It's funny because the GF says, like, when I have drinks, she's like, you become like, you get in people's personal space way too much. I'm right in your face.
Yeah, I thought so. There was a couple times where I thought you'd be on my lap, but no, it worked out well. It was, hey, we've talked about it at length all day, how phenomenal a night it was. Everyone, I don't think there was leaving there was such a smile on everyone's face, right? Like that was the coolest thing. The pictures, the outfits, tremendous job. Again, Matt Iwanek, great job putting this on. It did feel like an awards show.
Yeah, it was, oh man, you felt like you were at the Oscars there. And Maddie, Dusty, everybody, the performers. Was it Tube Sock's son?
Tube Sock's son. Yeah,
fantastic.
It's a good event when you're still talking about it, and it could have been the amount of drinks everyone was having to forget some things, but so many little things happened last night that everyone's reminiscing about this morning around here is pretty funny. It was, make sure, and I said it on the Hangout, I was kind of glad that it wasn't recorded.
Yeah.
Because everyone just has that memory in their memory banks where, next year, not only are the people that went there this year are going to come back, but it's like, oh God, I can't miss that the next time. So hopefully we get some more out of towners too. That was impressive. That was guys coming in from Jonty from Victoria coming in like crazy.
I was telling Maddie, like, at the end, like 5 years down the road, we'll probably be at Rogers Place.
I was thinking more Windspear. Yeah, I think Dusty said Windspear.
The Windspear makes more sense. Yeah.
Maybe Dinwiddie at the U of A. There's a nice little venue there that would be great. Then we could all just go to Rat up top afterwards. But Hudson's was great too. I shouldn't say that. We should all go back to Hudson's. That was a great job, and I liked the look on the locals in Hudson's last night as we're all rolling in going, what is going on
in
here
suits
today?
And ladies in gowns, and it was one of those.
Dusty on the mic multiple times at Hudson's again.
Just getting on that mic, and just a reminder, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio or tune in. Watch us on the YouTube channel here at EST. Let's get those numbers up right now. Let's get the thumbs up as well, and you can hit us up on the Nasty Chat. Text us at 780-218-9999. Before we get to all the Oiler news, we have to bring in the star of the show last night, Zachticum. Great performance. Your parents were there. How did that feel, just to be the star?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say I was the star. I didn't feel like the star of the night. I mean, the whole event was great. Like, Jackson did so good in his performance. Jonty had a great speech. Seeing everyone who walked up there, it was so great to see all you guys, just present awards, and Damon Bunting was up there. Of course, Josh did great, and he was kind of the brainchild. Well, of course, for the rap, we had beef at one point for some reason, because he's known as the the rapper turned weatherman, Josh Clausen. And of course, I kind of had to poke the bear a little bit, and we had fun with that. And, you know, it was kind of like the Eminem MGK kind of beef where I'm MGK. I got squashed. So I walked away, and he reached out and he's like, hey, man, you want to do a song or something? And I'm like, yes, that would be amazing. So we got in touch, and it's kind of been the last few weeks that we're kind of working on it. And the day before the ESTYs roll around, and we didn't practice anything, and he's like, I'm going to roll up. You're coming in my car, and we're singing this thing out. And we did it, I think, twice over, and we're like, that's going to be great. We're going to kill it. And it was so much fun to perform live. Everyone loved it, but the whole night was amazing.
All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes.
Hey, how about we do this? We do have video footage of it, but we're not, let's say this. We got to get to 50 thumbs up by the 2:00 hour, and then we might play it in the second.
I like that.
For the people that weren't there, right? So it's a great performance. Josh and Zach absolutely killed it. But yeah, kudos to everybody involved with the ESTYs. Thank you for everybody that came out and went to Hudson's after. It was just a phenomenal time, and looking forward to year 2. But let's get to it. Hockey's back, like I mentioned in the my opening. It's great to see all the insiders back, and we're talking holdouts and contracts and PTOs. And one big PTO here in Edmonton that I think caught a lot of us off. By surprise a bit. Oilers signed veteran forward Mike Hoffman to a PTO. Gager, 34 years old. Last year he played with the San Jose Sharks, 66 games. He had 10 goals, 23 points. It's just kind of that Grandpa Simpson gif where he walks in the bar and walks right out. It's, obviously they brought him in. We're going to get to Kane and all that as well here, but obviously they brought him in. You know, he's going to get the preseason games and all that, but I mean, there's no risk here.
No, there's no risk. Having another body in camp. I think I was looking at the Florida Panthers training camp roster, and it's gargantuan, right? And this is a team that's gone to the finals 2 years in a row, and realizing that it's a long, drawn-out grind, probably getting a few extra bodies for this, the lengthy preseason. Who knows, man? Like you're playing with house money. I think with the Oilers at this point, has been a pretty good player. Can score. If something does happen on the injury front throughout camp, who knows what it looks like come the start of the season. But very difficult for him to. The type of player that Mike Hoffman is, I think it's very difficult for him to fit into this lineup with what they already have, right? Like because I look at him as being a relied upon offensive player, playing top 6, things like that, and it's just there's a log jam there, and I just don't see his style of play conducive to a bottom 6 role with the Edmonton Oilers.
And that's I think for Oiler fans, this side, it's a PTO, don't get me wrong, but seeing Mike Hoffman in Oiler colors about 6 to 8 years too late. Remember back in the day, every trade deadline, every offseason, go get Mike Hoffman, go get Mike Hoffman. And listen, he's 34 years old. We're not talking about old guy, and we're talking old in terms of in sports.
Yeah, no.
Right? And this guy, if he's not in your top 6,
what are you doing?
He's not going to play in the bottom 6.
No.
Like, that's not his game. That's not where he wants to be probably at this age.
Yeah.
And it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, he might score some goals in the preseason games and all that, but for me, Mike Hoffman, this is an extreme long shot. And again, no risk. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You cut ties with him after the preseason, but because it was being reported around 8 a.m. PTOs, the Oilers are going to announce a PTO. I thought it was a defenseman.
Yeah, you'd think, but I mean, with the Dermott signing or PTO, right? Like, you might think with Darnell Nurse not looking for another body possibly on the back end. But look, not only is Hoffman coming in here, obviously, maybe in a way showcasing himself. There might be, he gets into some exhibition games with other teams looking. There might be something. I think that's what he's looking for mostly. Yeah. Is just getting a few extra eyeballs on him with some preseason games. Because you look at we're going to get to Evander Kane, but it sounds like the Edmonton Oilers to start the season aren't going to put him on long-term IR, right? There's no need right now, and they only have just a little under $1 million of projected cap space. So, depending on Darnell Nurse, what's more important? I mean, are you going to, if he's not ready to go, or if it's a little bit more, you're probably looking to maybe sign an extra D-man instead of the log jam of what it is on the up front.
Yeah, and for Mike, like you said, he's showing his skills. Like, everybody knows what he can do, but this is an audition for every other team. And Chris Runn on the Nasty Chat says he's going to probably get a contract with a team in the bottom 16, which is likely to happen. I mean, he played on a really bad team last year with the San Jose Sharks. They said 10 goals, older guy. Here, there's no power play time coming. There's no top 6 minutes. So I just look at it more as a body, and I know Oiler fans wish this was done a lot earlier, as Mike Hoffman was always on the radar. I know we got Ross Levitan coming on at 120, so we'll hold the Kane clip, but we're going to get to Evander Kane, and we're going to get to Stan Bowman, and then Daniel Nugent-Bowman's going to fill us in on
a lot of Bowmans
on what was going on down there today, as I know Ty Emberson spoke, Connor Brown, Stuart Skinner, who... if anyone had doubts last year, I think after the playoffs, those doubts are gone. Stuart Skinner's a legit top end goalie here. I have no concerns. I love his backup. He seems like an overall great guy. Everybody seems to love Calvin Pickard, but this duo is just, it's solid, Gage. There's no questions.
Oh yeah, and there was a little bit of a stumble in the playoffs last year, and everyone got a little bit anxious about that. But I think it wasn't so much. I think Stuart Skinner was trying to influence the game a little bit too much, trying to do a little bit too, not just letting the game come to him. Because when you saw him come back in, it looked like the Stuart Skinner that most Oilers fans are used to seeing throughout the regular season. A very composed, looked like he was having the time of his life. He's head bobbing. He's if there was a karaoke machine on the back of the net, he'd be using it. Right? There was a very relaxed Stuart Skinner, and there's those polls on X too that I've been seeing, like the best goaltender duo in the Pacific Division. Man, it's when you look at it, I really have the Edmonton Oilers at the top. And I'm looking at the duo of both guys. Yeah. Right? I want to see, it's not just one stud and a guy that's going to play 5 games, right? Vancouver's interests me, but now, we were talking about yesterday with their troubles in net,
but Vancouver healthy is pretty good.
If they're healthy, yeah. And you wonder about the implementation of Sheloffs, right? What are they going to do? Because they just can't get into the same situation they did before, where they're just playing the legs off Thatcher Demko, right? So that's why I give the Oilers a little bit of an edge, because last year Calvin Pickard was not going in just against bottom feeders. He was going against some good teams on the second leg of a back-to-back and providing the Oilers with really good goaltending and winning games. Not only just playing well, but he was a big difference in the wins. Yeah,
they weren't giving him toss-up games.
No.
At San Jose. Didn't he go into New Jersey and win? Yeah, I think he did.
He went into Dallas and won. I don't think he played. He might have played 1 or 2 bottom feeders. But no, he was great. He was really, really good. So that's a sign of a good team.
Yeah, for sure. And because when he came up, it was this tweener guy, he's just here because they have to get Jack Campbell down to the minors and the money and all that. But he turned out to be a solid backup. And I saw a quote from Stuart Skinner today saying he absolutely loves Calvin Pickard, one of the greatest teammates he's had. So I think between the pipes, the Oilers are going to be solid this season. We're going to get to a lot more Oilers here. We're going to hear from Evander Kane at 140. We'll break all that down. He's got a ton of injuries, KJ. We were kind of Googling the timeline for each of his injuries, but man, he's dealing with a lot. We'll hear from Stan Bowman at 2 and continue the Oiler talk with Daniel Nugent-Bowman at 2:20. But coming up next, Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators as we continue our NHL previews. That's all coming up next Here's a sports update with Zach Kubusch.
It's all gas, no brakes on the NHL side of things, with Rogers Communications reaching an agreement with Bell Media worth $3.46 billion, increasing their ownership in the Toronto Maple Leafs. With the deals, Rogers takes their ownership of the Maple Leafs sports and entertainment franchise from 37.5% up to 75%. Before the sale, Rogers owned parts of the Blue Jays, Raptors, and the Argonauts. Oilers general manager Stan Bowman announced this morning that forward Evander Kane will undergo surgery. Kane's timeline is unknown, but the team says that they will not place him on LTIR. Former Senator and Shark Mike Hoffman has signed a PTO with the Oilers. Hoffman was drafted in 2009 and has scored at least 10 goals in each of the last 9 seasons. Stars forward Jason Robertson requires surgery on his foot and will miss the entirety of training camp. Robertson scored 80 points last year for the team and is expected to be good to go for the start of the season. After the break, Ross Levitan, the host of the Locked On Senators podcast, will join Hernan Gage here on EST Afternoons. I'm Zach Kubusch, and now you're up to date.
If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to jameshbrown.com.
Why tee off at the Ranch Golf and Country Club?
A fun, unique layout offering premier conditions. The Ranch has been ranked as one of the top public courses in Canada.
Unmatched value. Score Golf Magazine rated the Ranch as the best value in Edmonton.
The service, from tournaments to special events to the pro shop. Superior service that makes every visit exceptional.
The Ranch Golf and Country Club, a laid-back environment where anyone can enjoy an amazing day on the fairways. For details, visit theranchgolf.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as newborn 8-pound, 6-ounce Mitch Lewicki. You can picture grown-up Mitch, or teenage Mitch, or bearded Mitch, or whoever you want.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road. Park Mazda does.
.122 here on EST Afternoons, Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. You want to chime in, hit us up on the Nasty Chat or text us at 780-218-9999. 31 thumbs up. Remember, we hit 50 by 2 o'clock. There could be a nice little special edition of Zach and Josh Clausen's rap from their performance at the ESTYs last night. Let's get that going. We're just waiting here on Ross Levitan. Zach's going to give us a thumbs up when he is ready to go. We'll go back into the inbox here. Rico says Pickard will get exposed this year. I'm here to tell you.
Who said that?
Rico on the inbox there.
Rico, I don't know what. I'd like to know the reasoning why he's going to get exposed. Nothing shows me that there's deficiency. Like there's no. He's very sound in net. Like there's he moves well. Look, I know from experience it's very difficult to get into a rhythm if you're not playing on a consistent basis like that. And the fact that you can kind of tell at the beginning of the game, which is completely natural, that there might be a little bit added movement in his game. But you see by almost like there was, I forget which game. I wish I could remember it. But there was a little bit too much movement, I thought, at the beginning, like the start of the first. He made a few saves and completely settled in. And you watch when the puck's hitting the crest of a goalie, on a consistent basis like it was the rest of that. Like they rolled the rest of the game. And I don't see it. Nothing that he's done over the last little bit has shown that he's going to be exposed. I mean, he went in the most crucial time of the year and gave the Oilers the goaltending they needed to basically continue on in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I don't get it.
He was a big part of why they got past Vancouver.
Huge part.
Yeah,
And you're going to need it. There's going to be times when I think again this year where you're probably going to, in the playoffs, the Oilers are a playoff team, that you're probably going to have to go to Pickard at some point, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
You don't want to gas Skinner either. We've been talking about with Demko. Like,
no. And please, like, we haven't talked about Oilers goaltending issues in like 9 months. Let's not start now.
Hey, Zach, I know Ross is going to join us in about 5-7 minutes. Why don't we get to the Evander Kane avail today from practice? He had a lot to say about the injuries he's going through right now and the surgeries. But let's hear from the man himself. Zach, here is Evander Kane meeting with the Edmonton media earlier today.
Share with us what you're having done and what your timeline would look like for being on the shelf.
What am I having done? I'm having a lot done. Both adductors on each hip, 2 torn lower abdominal muscles done, and 2 hernias.
And timeline-wise, what's your...
We'll see.
Yeah. So conventional wisdom might be season ends, you need surgery, have it, and then maybe you're back sooner. I know that's not necessarily the way it always goes. Can you just explain the process of figuring out what needed to be done and why it's at this point now?
Yeah, I think some people call it conventional wisdom. I don't know if those people have ever had surgery or been professional athletes, but...
I haven't.
Yeah. Not saying that it's you, but I think, obviously after going to the last possible day of the NHL season and trying to figure out how I was going to proceed in the offseason, obviously I think everybody agreed we wanted to see how things looked after we took some time off to see if anything settled down, if anything could be rehabbed. I know there were some people that believed that we could possibly get better through rehab. That ended up not being the case, and then you kind of start due diligence process and trying to find the best surgeon and surgeons out there to do what they do, and hearing from them. And I think for me that was very important because this is a big undertaking and an injury, and for me something that I want to get fixed once, get fixed correctly, and continue my playing career. So, there was some confusion throughout the off season in terms of how we were going to fix some of these injuries, and different doctors obviously had different opinions, and just continuing to do my due diligence and asking questions, and also talking to many other players around the league that have had maybe not the exact same injury, but similar injuries, or have also had work done by those surgeons as well. So, there was a process that needed to take place to make sure that I was doing the right thing and that I felt comfortable. So we've gotten there and looking forward to getting back healthy.
Evander, I know you try to gut it out as long as you could last year in the playoffs. I was just wondering, take us back to when it first kind of the sports hernia developed, and then when you felt that how you could manage it throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said this before, felt something was wrong in late October. Noticed something and just kind of slowly got worse over time, probably in December, January-ish. It was getting much worse, and but at the same time, it was... the thing with this injury, it's some days, you feel better than others. And obviously in the playoffs, by the time we got around to that, it wasn't much any better. It was getting severely worse. And, at the same time, you're just trying to do everything you can because you want to give yourself and your teammates the best opportunity to win. So that's all I try to do.
So, and just for
That was Evander Kane meeting with the Edmonton media. So, Gager, in the next couple of days, he's going to have surgery to repair both abductors, 2 hernias, and 2 abdominal tears.
Yeah, that's what when you take your car in and it's a full overhaul, it seems like. But 2 things I took from that. I mean, I liked the way he answered I was trying to find the best things for me. There's always the going under the knife, opening up your body.
Of course.
You want to, if you can avoid that, by all means, that's what you want to do, right? You want to, if you can rehab this with, essentially rehabbing it and getting back to normal. That's the way you want to go. But now they've finally gotten to the point, and like he said, he wanted to do his due diligence. He wanted to find the best surgeons that have done this before, the best there, and talking to his peers. Have they had this before? What's the recovery time like? All those types of things. So I think he's done what's best for him. And I like the fact that the Oilers have been with him, going along with this process with him, and they've finally come to this decision. It's because, look, when we saw him last year, it wasn't the same Evander Kane at all.
Oh, no.
His first 2 steps are usually a lot of power, and he has the ability to get that separation from people times and that scoring from distance. You just didn't see that as much last year as he did in years prior.
No, we'll continue the Evander Kane talk as we go through the show here, but we are ready with Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators. Ross, it's great to have you on the show. It's great to have hockey back, man. This is an exciting time, isn't it?
I know, and how about the timing, getting it right on a day where Mike Hoffman's coming away? I like that. What's the mood on that in Edmonton?
I was telling Gager that it's about 6 to 8 years too late for Edmonton Oiler fans because, man, I'll tell you, like 6 years ago, Ross, every Oiler fan, every trade deadline was, go get Mike Hoffman, go get Mike Hoffman. So, I mean, a little bit surprised, the issues here in Edmonton. Well, not issues, but they need some more defensemen, some guys that can play in the top 4 or in the bottom pairing. So we're a little surprised by that. But let's get to your Senators here as training camps are underway. What did you make of Steve Sale's first offseason as GM there?
Well, he certainly addressed needs that he figured through watching for 10 months coming on board during that really tumultuous time where Shane Pinto had just been suspended 41 games for the gambling-related issues. Then you have the removal of a first-round pick for the Evgeny Dadonov trade that happened well before the sale of the team, let alone when he was involved. So he took on a pretty tough situation, I think, and it was... People call him Steady Stevie Stais. I think it became Sleepy Stevie for a little bit because he wasn't making any moves, but it makes sense. He wanted to see how the team would battle through the adversity and finish out the season. He decided the core was what he was going to bet on, and it was about insulating it with players who have won before. They bring in 2 Stanley Cup champions in Michael Amadio and David Perron up front. They bring in Nick Jensen, who's a stabilizer on the back end. Certainly won't put up the offensive numbers that you see from Jacob Chychrun, but he does a job that Ottawa needed, and a right shot-handedness, which was a huge issue last year, having their top 5 D as lefties. It was just not working out. So he addressed those, and the big one, boys, you don't have to look too far if you sort the goals saved above expected, lowest to highest last year to find Ottawa right at the top. They go out and get Linus Ullmark, which is obviously the biggest addition. So I know it sounds like it, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I really do believe the goaltending was such an Achilles heel last year that fixing that alone puts them right back in the race.
You said it there with that's the question. You've answered my question already with the goaltending, because I mean, it seemed like even last year with Korpisalo, I thought that they would kind of solidify these issues. Has that? I mean, I've looked at this roster and I've said that they'd be a team knocking on that wild card door over the last few seasons. Hasn't really worked out. Is just that presence and goal of enough to make the Ottawa Senators a team that's going to challenge for a playoff spot?
Well, let's look at it since Craig Anderson left at the same time the pandemic started.
Right.
It closed the chapter on the greatest goaltender in franchise history. He was awesome. One of his coolest moments, actually, was in Edmonton when he came back after he was with his wife who was battling cancer. He got a shutout. He got an ovation from the road crowd. You never see that. So that was awesome in itself, just as an aside. But they've made these strange bets afterwards. Matt Murray, after 2 down years, after being a back-to-back Cup champ. Then they go out and get Cam Talbot, which was a more veteran player than Philip Gustafson. But look at their numbers the next year. That was a 1-for-1 trade. So strike 2. Third strike, you have a small sample size of Eunice Korpisalo playing really well in Los Angeles. We saw what he did in the playoffs that year against the Oilers, and they signed him to a long-term deal. So those were all questionable bets at the start. We know goaltending's voodoo, but if you're going off resume, there's not much better than Linus Ullmark, Vezina winner 2 years ago. And even his time in Buffalo is what really gives me hope, is that he was in front of maybe the worst defensive structure in Buffalo and was able to be a good goalie and have a .915 save percentage. We don't even need .915 in Ottawa. I'll settle for .905. It's been all in the 890s. Both goalies for Ottawa last year, .890 save percentage. Like that, you're just not going to have a chance to win with that type of goaltending. And I'm confident that Linus Ullmark, of the guys I mentioned, is the best goalie night in, night out.
Ross, one of my favorite players to watch on the Sens is Tim Stützle. 70 points last year. He regressed from the 90 he had the year before. Was there just something off with Tim Stützle last year? Or because 70 points is still pretty good, but it just seemed that for parts of that season, he was just a bit off.
He's got a bit of Draisaitl in him personality-wise. He's so hard on himself and expects so much. My co-host Brandon Pillar's got German heritage. He said it's a bit of a trait for them. And I think that we saw that get the better of him a lot last year. And the frustration showed. Now, it came out after the season, as usually the injuries do, that he had a nagging wrist thing throughout the year. Certainly the 18 goals would speak to that after 39 the year before. And boys, one of the craziest stats of the season last year for Ottawa, Tim Stützle had 1 power play goal.
Wow.
1 power play goal, and he's on the first unit all season long with Brady Tkachuk standing in front of the net causing havoc. Like, you'd think he'd at least find 5 or 6. And to make matters worse, that power play goal is against the Sharks, the worst team in the league. So that's where he produced last year. I certainly think he's back at 90+ next year. He's too talented not to. He skates like the wind, and I think having Claude Giroux has really been a benefit for him because Giroux takes a lot of faceoffs for him. Timmy's a centerman by nature. I know some scouts like to say that he'd be better on the wing. I believe he's a centerman. I think he controls the middle of the ice really well, but he's brutal at faceoffs. Maybe he'll get better one day, but he's like a 44% guy. So I think that having him with Claude Giroux and a bounce back for Giroux, who really struggled at the end of last season, only 3 goals his last 25 games, I think you're going to see that really carry Ottawa if they're going to have success this year.
You mentioned the Stanley Cup pedigree with Amadio and David Perron now. I wonder how do you think seeing your brother win a Stanley Cup and have a great summer with this thing goes for Brady? Does this, not that there wasn't fire before, but do you think it's like, I want to do something that my big brother did and maybe take it, even if it's possible, take it up another notch to make sure that this team is battling in the playoffs for a chance to win that thing?
Great question. We actually had Brady Tkachuk on the podcast last month, and he was quick to point out that at his brother's Stanley Cup parade, there were 350 people there, and 349 touched the Stanley Cup. Not him. He's waiting. And that was a great quote. And he said he was going around telling everyone, my party's going to be better. So he's putting it into existence like that. And not only is it jealous little brother, but also he just had his firstborn kid on his birthday 2 days ago. So he's got the new dad strength. He's got the jealousy factor. And we're already seeing a guy who's maturing defensively. That's the biggest next step for him. If he is a 30-goal guy instead of 37 like he had last year or 40, but we can finally see him being a plus 20 player, I think he would make that trade-off. I think a lot of Sens fans would too. He's been able to produce a whole lot around the net. That won't change, but sometimes there's a bit of cheating at the defensive blue line, and I'm sure Travis Green is going to be very cognizant of letting him know that we need you at both ends of the rink, and that's going to be his next step. But what a fun player to watch. He's always in the fight, and we have one rule on Locked On Sens for Brady this year. he cannot be fighting guys in the other team's bottom 6 or bottom pair, because he got carried away sometimes at the end of games, frustrating losses last year. And he's taking on, like, I don't need to name names, hockeyfights.com. You can go see all of who he fought last year. And outside of, I think, Evander Kane, unless that was 2 years ago, he's fighting a lot of lower lineup guys. So I'd like him to save his fights for the really important moments, and like the Trouble one at center ice. I'll take those ones, but let's get away from the frustration and that sort of thing. Will be a big step in him elevating the Senators as a team.
Ross, Jake Sanderson heading into his third season, 38 points last season. His rookie season, he had 32, so he is trending upwards. But what are you seeing from the progression from this player? Because he's fun to watch.
I'm so glad you brought him up, right? Yeah. He's one of those guys, the more you watch him, the more you appreciate everything that he does. He might be the fastest defenseman for sure, might be the fastest player on the Ottawa Senators at 22 years old. And he's one of those late birthday draft picks. He's a July birthday. So when they took him 5th overall, you're like, okay, there's even more runway, because he was one of those, like, sexy picks in the second half of the year. He really picked it up at the BioSteel All Prospects game. He was great. And then in the second half of the season. So those late risers that are late birthdays tend to jump off the next year. Had some injury problems at North Dakota, but he's through that now. He is awesome. And I think even for fantasy value this year, there's going to be a lot more. He took the reins on the first power play unit right probably 25 games into last season when Thomas Chabot went down with an injury, and he never gave it up. He's going to be their top guy on the PK, top guy on the power play, and at even strength as well. And there's a lesser known player on his right, Artem Zub, who allows him to do a lot of those things. Think Bouchard Ekholm, where you put Ekholm next to him and all of a sudden that allows Bouchard to pop off. Zub is a very stabilizing player like that. And I think that those two playing exclusively together is going to be a thing for years to come. And Sanderson's awesome, man. I've been saying that I think he's going to make Team USA's Olympic roster. A lot of people are giving me the stink eye for that, but wait and see. This guy's a player.
Zub Nation, Ross. Come on, we know Zub Nation.
They chant his name every time he touches the puck in Ottawa. How ridiculous is that? He didn't speak a word of English, but it's just such a great name. So the Zub chant, even when it's a little D to D quick off the glass and out, there's a quick like Zub, and then they stop. So it's a great little tradition we got going.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, what's the latest on Josh Norris? He's by all accounts, he's good to go.
100% good to go. Will be in practice. Big storyline all off season. You put him at wing. It's been shoulder issues, 3 shoulder surgeries in the last 6 years. But Travis Green out today. He's been a center. He scored 35 goals in the show as a center. He's playing center tomorrow at practice at camp, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him and Drake Batherson as a pair. They go way back to their time in Belleville, developing together, and then we'll see whether it's Amadio, Perron, Ridley Gregg, or someone else who gets to play on that line. But yeah, he's a fun one too.
Ross, you always bring the heat. Absolutely love having you on Talking Sens. Enjoy the start of training camp, preseason, and I'm sure we'll have you on once the Oilers meet the Sens in the regular season.
Yeah, it looks like November 19th, boys. I'll be looking forward to that, and always a pleasure chatting with you. We'll do it again down the road.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks, Ross.
That's Ross Levitan, host of the Locked On Senators podcast. He does a great job with his co-host, Brandon Pillar. Like, they always have players on, executives. They do some great things with that podcast. If you love hockey and you're intrigued by some of the Sens players, make sure to check them out. It's 1:42 here. Coming up next, we'll break down more of what Kane had to say here, as that's kind of the big story heading into the on-ice sessions that kick off tomorrow down at Rogers Place. That's all coming up next here on EST Afternoons. He's Joaquin Gage. I'm Hernan Salas. We got Zachticum behind the camera producing the show, and we did hit 50 thumbs up. So at the 2 o'clock hour, you're going to get a nice little treat. The rap duo of Zachticum and Josh Clausen will show you their performance from last night, which was so good. Keep it locked here on EST. But first, here's a sports update with Zachticum.
Oilers general manager Stan Bowman announced this morning that Evander Kane will undergo surgery. Kane's timeline is unknown, but the Oilers say they will not place him on the long-term injury reserve. Forward Mike Hoffman joins the Oilers on a professional tryout. Hoffman was drafted back in 2009 by the Sens and spent time with Ottawa San Jose, St. Louis, and Montreal. The Nashville Predators have re-signed Philip Tomasino. The former first-rounder recorded 7 goals for 20 points in 40 games last year. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco underwent ankle surgery this morning and will take 6 to 8 weeks to recover. The Chiefs play the Falcons Sunday night at 6:15. Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love returned to practice today for the first time since his knee injury in Week 1. Love was limited and isn't guaranteed to start against the Titans this Sunday. Just after the break, we'll continue with EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. I'm Zachary Kubusch for your EST Update.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at The Ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always The Ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
Celebrate the grand opening of Sit and Sleep and discover a revolutionary way to shop for mattresses. Stop in today for a free pressure point scan using cutting-edge technology so sleepologists can identify the perfect mattress for you. Right now, you'll get free local delivery on any mattress over $5.99 and receive a bamboo cooling mattress protector. Get grand opening savings now with every mattress on sale. Join us on location today for the celebrations at Sit and Sleep in South Common next to Planet Fitness.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of the Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
.146 here on EST Afternoons. I'm Hernan Salas, joined by my co-host Joaquin Gage. Zachticum behind the camera here as we just talked with Ross Levitan from the Locked On Senators podcast, covering a very interesting team in Ottawa. Hopefully they can make a push for a wild card spot because they got a lot of fun players to watch.
Man, I said this. I've been on the Sens train for a while, thinking that they would surprise some teams, knock a team out that's supposed to make it. Things just haven't gone well. Like the Stützle injury was interesting. Like he scored that great goal at the Globe last year in Sweden, knocked it out of the air there. Just crazy. Second best German on the planet, I guess you could kind of say, right? So, and Brady, he's got the dad strength now. Not that he wasn't strong before, but yeah, I'm just waiting for something. I'm interested to see with the coaching change now, new GM. What's the identity of this Senators team? You know, they got a lot of really good pieces. I think they should be able to challenge this year for at least a wild card spot.
Yeah, they added David Perron, they added Michael Amadio, they added Noah Gregor, and they added Nick Jensen, who I think is a big piece in that of the back end for the Ottawa Senators. You can roll out Shabbat, Jensen, Zub, and Sanderson. That's a pretty good top four. But switching gears back to Evander Kane, when he was asked what's the timeline, he said we'll see, non-committal. But you got to think with these injuries, Gager, this is going to be a long term. He might not even play this season.
Well,
I'm assuming, right?
You know, I've played with certain guys that have had just the hernia surgery.
Yeah,
that's usually, I would say, anywhere between 4 to 6. But the abdominal tear, that's tough because there's so much twisting and turning, right? You're shooting everything. That's going to take time. I don't know. I don't think they just go in and do the complete. Maybe they do. They just go in and do it all and then start rehabbing from there. Anyway, this is going to be a long time. I don't think that you see Evander Kane getting when they say getting close.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll hear that till probably around Christmas.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know what? You know what's great about? Well, it's not great, but you know what's impressive about this? He still scored 24 goals.
I know. Yeah,
and because he said late October he started feeling it. He said it started getting slowly worse December, January, and that's well into the playoffs. You could tell he wasn't right.
Well, look when last year when there was a little bit more complaining. You know, he wasn't playing. But he just couldn't do it. He couldn't. He couldn't perform like you saw in I look back to that series against the Kings 2 years ago where he was a force. He was, and even the next series against the Flames, he basically put the flame out with a lot of those players, right? Like he was a dominating physical presence.
He can take over a series.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you brought up a great 2 years ago against LA when they won 7 games. He was phenomenal in that series.
Dude, he was all over it. And when there's certain guys, when they throw body checks, I've said this before, but most people just go to hit. He aims for the back of their body, to try to put his shoulder and touch the person's spine, right? It's a hard hit. And again, there's not many guys on the Oilers that have the ability to beat NHL goaltenders from distance.
Yeah.
They just don't. The way he can shoot the puck, and look, that's where all the power comes from. Is your core.
Your core.
And
yeah.
if he's got to adjust or try to shoot off of one side, you're just not going to get a full Evander Kane. So, yeah, part of me, I'm very optimistic of him coming back and getting back to the level of play that we're more accustomed to see.
And the Oilers probably knew this. That's why you go out and get a Skinner and Arvidsson to bump up your top 6. Because Kane, if he was healthy, he's probably playing on that third line. He's not in that top 6 to start. So now you have the third line of Janmark, Enrique, and Connor Brown, who were really good in the playoffs. And then your fourth line is going to be a mishmash of Podkolzin, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry. I don't think Hoffman will push there, but there's questions about Lane Peterson, Raphael Lavoie, who's probably not ideal for that fourth line spot.
We were looking at what yesterday? Connor Garland and Dakota Joshua. Right? And these are fringe top 6 players, I would say, maybe. Joshua played a little bit up there, but still, they had a lot of success. Kane playing, pick your poison of who he could be playing with in that bottom 6 role and have success in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You can probably construct any him, Enrique. Who knows? Maybe it's even Podkolzin. I don't know what that would look like, but that's a type of line that can catch fire or just the lightning in a bottle a little bit come playoff time and have success against other third. You look around the league, especially in the Pacific Division, and you look kind of, that crystal ball looking into what their third line. I think the Oilers' third line dominates, right? If they can get the matchups that they want in those situations. So, yeah.
And another name I left out, too, that can push for some fourth line time is, I just had him here. Hold on here. James Hamlin, who played a handful of games last year. So I think he's in the running. I think Lane Peterson's in the running as well. I'm looking at the training camp roster. You know what? I totally forgot Drake Caggiula was on the Oilers.
Right. That's a blast from the past.
A blast from the past in game 2017. I think he scored the goal in game 7 against Anaheim that they lost 2-1. But yeah, Drake Caggiula, that is a blast from the past. I just it just went whew. I was like, oh, that's right, he's there, and he wasn't even close to being a call up. This guy's, I think, just gonna play in Bakersfield, and that's kind of where his career will stay for now. And he was a good little player.
Yeah. He was a good player. He went to Chicago. I remember him. He kind of gave it. I think it was Hitchcock. It was back when Hitchcock was coaching.
Oh, okay.
And he got traded to Chicago, and he scored against the Oilers and skated by the bench and kind of gave Hitch a little bit of a stare down, or in the whole bench. Just kind of turning the screws in that game because they kind of. if memory serves, they kind of had their way with the Oilers that game, and a former player left, not on good terms, comes back, kind of rubs it in the face of the team that got rid of him. Good for him.
Yeah, he had a little bit of spice. There's a good comment here. I'm just trying to get to our chat here. It's not loading up. Carmen on the Nasty Chat says, guys, based on what Bowman said for the top 4 right D, I think we'll see a move or signing in the next 2-3 weeks. I think there's something coming. I don't know what. I don't know if it's a big trade. I don't know if it's a small trade or another PTO. It's going to be interesting to see because if they go into, let's say they're 4 games into the preseason and they're not liking what they're seeing from Emerson or Stetcher, he has to move. He can't just wait it on and say, well, hopefully they get better once the regular season starts.
No, they have to have their sights on certain players around the league, right? To do something. I don't know. But I don't think you don't think anything's going to happen right away, do you?
I don't. I think they're going to let these guys kind of find out who can play. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because Nurse is not going to be a part of that.
Yeah, I know.
So the guys are going to get a lot of opportunity. Josh Brown, Ty Emberson, Troy Stetcher, the PTO guy, Travis Dermott. These guys are going to get a lot of ice time.
Well, they should. Boaki's one I'm interested in to just see how he does too. Right? See what
Maximus Warner.
He looked good he was one of the bright spots in Penticton too, right? He was the only time when he was on the ice, they seemed to muster up a little bit of offense too. Yeah. So
a few other names here. Phil Kemp, who I know he was with the big club, and I think one game they played, he did a couple 4th line forward shifts last season. He's an interesting player. Cam Dineen also. I mean, might push, and then you have Ben Gleason, who's kind of that AHLer tweener guy that can come up and play. And I know last year a lot of people were high on him, but he's just kind of down that depth chart now. I still think it's Stetcher. I still think it's Connor Carrick's another one.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're gonna dissect the crap out of these exhibition games, I'm sure, and see. But there's spots open on the back end for someone to really shine through and get a maybe a look when the regular season starts.
There's an opportunity.
Good word. Opportunity.
For 4 guys here to really grab that second pairing right D spot, right? Because that's the big one here. And I think the front runner is Ty Emberson, but we'll have to see. Carmen says, not right away, just wait till what happens because lots of players will lose favor at different camps and some may go on waivers. Forsling was on waivers. That's a good point. He says Maximus has a good spot next year. Do not rush a prospect like him. No.
Especially on the back end.
Yeah.
You can't set them up. Not that I don't think they rushed Broberg by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was more of a case where it was a spot was provided to him. He just didn't reach out and grab it, Yeah. And then, I think we talked about Niemelainen, and we both thought at a certain point that he was kind of the next coming, and then obviously Vinny Desharnais grabbed the spot when it became available to him. So, opportunity knocks. You got to open that door.
Rico wants to bet a panini that Calvin Pickard's going to struggle this year.
A panini? Jeez.
Want to bet a panini?
How about some currency?
This one's Kane is lucky he's not a horse.
That's a good one.
Let's see here. Stampater says, first off, great to hear you back on the air, Hernan. Welcome back. Thank you. Question for Gager. How do goalies deal with shooters figuring them out a bit, both within a season and within a playoff series?
Do guys figure out goalies? You'd have to give me an example where a guy just is putting it in a place where he can't stop the puck, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think that's that happens too much. If I'm trying to find an example, like that would be saying like Leon's figured every other goalie out at the bottom of the circle, right? There are subtle adjustments that guys make. There are tendencies where guys shoot or like to shoot from certain points on the ice that they know if there's a good chance they're going to beat the goalie. It's kind of a cat and mouse game, I think. Like the good players like Connor McDavid, you see that goal line drive that he has and trying to bank it off the head of goalies, right? Going that short side thing. Now you see goalies overcommitting in those types of situations. You'll actually see them putting their head on the other side of the post, so that doesn't become available. But what happens then? That opens up. When you get a goalie overcommitting like that, then it opens it up for a cross ice pass or something quick where it's a little bit tougher to get the position. But if you're asking me if I look at some of the players that have had maybe Stuart Skinner's number, I'm drawing a blank. I might have something by the end of the show, but I really don't find that there's someone that really abused. I shouldn't say that. Adrian Kempe.
Yes, good one.
I think if I were to be one-on-one with Skinner and no microphones and stuff and have a solid discussion about Adrian Kempe, I'm almost positive that he would say, yeah, that guy, it sucks because he's got one of those releases where it's very difficult to pick up where he's going.
Yeah, no, he's had he produces against the Oilers. You hate him.
Yeah. When he's on his off wing on that right side, he's beat Skinner, I want to say, over the past few years at least 10 times. And it's been 5-hole, far side, short side. He's kind of had his way, I think. So, geez, now I'm completely contradicting myself.
It's 2:00 here. The first hour is done here on EST Afternoons. Big thanks to Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators joining us here. We also heard from Evander Kane. Coming up, we'll talk to Daniel Nugent-Bowman in about 20 minutes about all the things that happened down at the pressers today for the Edmonton Oilers. And next, we'll hear from Stan Bowman and continue to talk Edmonton Oilers. Hit us up on the Nasty Chat. Text us at 780-218-9999. It's EST Afternoons live from the William Huff Studios. Keep it locked on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends September 30th. Eat locally, enjoy casually. Edmonton Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. Oilers and Elks, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the Association, Formula One, soccer, golf. Oh, sweet mama! The excitement is palatable on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's where fans go to get their sports fix and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website and send a message at edmontonsportstalk.com.
Oilers GM Stan Bowman announced that Evander Kane will undergo surgery. Kane's timeline to return is unknown, but the Oilers say that they will not put him on the LTIR. Forward Mike Hoffman joins the Oilers on a PTO. Hoffman was drafted back in 2009 by the Sens and spent time with Ottawa, San Jose, and the Montreal Canadiens. Rogers Communications has reached an agreement with Bell Media worth $3.46 billion to increase their ownership in the Toronto Maple Leafs. With the deal, Rogers takes their ownership of the team from 37.5% up to 75%. The Nashville Predators have re-signed Philip Tomasino. The former first-rounder recorded 7 goals and 20 points in 40 appearances last year. Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love returned to practice today for the first time since his knee injury in Week 1. Love is limited and isn't guaranteed to start this week against the Titans, but is hopeful for the start. Right now, you are listening to EST Afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zach for your EST update.
Here on EST Afternoons. I'm Hernan Salas, joined by Joaquin Gage, Zach Kubusch behind the camera here as we'll continue our Oiler talk. Reminder, you can listen to us on iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio, or you can watch us on the good old YouTube at EST. Hit us up at 780-218-9999 as the Nasty Chat's pretty active right now. A lot of Oilers on there, and keep chiming in. It's going to be fun. We're going to actually get lines tomorrow. Don't read too much into it.
Let's read everything into it.
Don't freak out if there's a young guy in the top 6, blah, blah, blah. It'll be fun to break down. And Atif chimes in, another star yesterday, who won an award. 2 gentlemen came up to me at Hudson and said, "Can you introduce me to Atif?"
The superstar.
Yeah, he was great. He says, "Boys, it was fun last night. Congrats on the show." He has 3 questions. I'm going to send them to you.
No.
Will my dream, Phil Kessel, be joining the Oilers? Will that ever happen?
No, that will never happen. I don't think. Is Phil, did he announce his retirement or is he still looking?
I think he still wants to play.
I think
he wants to, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess not now, Atif. Like something really drastic would have to happen. And look, Phil the Thrills, he's not.
The War Pig.
The War Pig's not the same as he was at when he was winning those cups with Pittsburgh.
Second question: what will the score be in the Elks game, and will Trey's brother get an interception?
No, I think Trey's brother is going to get abused by his other brother. That's tough. What am I going to say? Score? Jeez, what do you say, Hernan?
I'm going to say 33-26 Elks.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be high scoring.
I think so too. I think you're going to see Trey unleashed a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I think he'll go after his brother. You know, how wouldn't you? You know?
And Trey, please slide.
Yeah.
Don't take hits.
Yeah, slide.
And his final questions, Gager, will you be there on Saturday? I want to come get a burger or a hot dog from you. And he also adds, I also have lots of gas and no brakes.
Yeah. Sorry, Atif, I will not be there. I've got prior commitments with my other job.
That's all fair. Atif, thank you for sending in those 3 questions. Zachticum, let's get to Edmonton Oilers GM Stan Bowman as he met with the Edmonton media today. We'll hear about 16 minutes. We're not going to play the whole thing. We'll listen to about 5-6 minutes here, but here is Stan Bowman.
So news broke this morning that Mike Hoffman's coming to camp on a PTO. Just some thoughts on what he brings to the group here.
Yeah, well, he's a veteran player, obviously. He's had a great career so far, and we think he'd be a nice addition to the camp. And it's a competitive environment, and he's a veteran. He's been a pretty consistent offensive player throughout his career. So we're going to take a look at him and see how he fits in with our mix. But not just him. I think we're looking for all of our guys to take a step forward here and show us what they can do. And a lot of optimism for our group, but it's always good to have some competition as well.
Draisaitl's contract's done. You can't really say much about McDavid's, but I'm curious if you have any information on potential talks with Evan Bouchard, who's up next summer.
Yep. Nothing on that yet, and we might get to that as well. But I think we're focused on Leon to. Obviously, with him being a pending unrestricted free agent, that was a top priority. Bouchard's in a little bit of a different situation. He's still a very big priority for our team. He had a fantastic season. He's a great player, and I think his best years are still ahead of him. So, we'll definitely get to that at some point.
Stan, do you have an update on Evander and then kind of what you expect for usage from Darnell?
Yeah, Evander is going to have surgery. We'll probably announce that when he's going to have it. It's going to be soon. So he is going to, not be available for training camp and the beginning of the season. So I don't really want to speak on the medical part. We'll get our doctors to comment on that, but he is going to be having surgery. As far as Darnell, what was your specific question?
Just on kind of where he's at in his usage and like non-contact drills to contact. Do you expect him to be ready later in training camp?
Yep, I do. I think, this is just if anything, we want to be cautious with it. I mean, he's a very important player for us. He plays a lot of minutes, and training camp's important, but clearly being ready for the season is the most important thing. So I think we'll take that as we go as far as, when he'll be ready for like full contact or participation.
And can you give us maybe kind of your expectations, a little bit of a scouting report on what you expect from Pod Coles and what type of role he would play in your team?
Yeah, I think getting him in here with our team, sometimes a fresh start is great for players like that. I've seen that over my time. He's certainly a high-profile player. He came in with high expectations, and when that doesn't always match right away, there can be a challenge as far as the outlook. But I think we're looking at it as an optimistic situation. He's clearly got a lot of talent. There's a lot of things I like about his game. I think he brings the element of physicality, which is something that I think is important. And I think he can score. He's got a great shot. I think that's studied him was his willingness to be an aggressive player. He's a big body. He can skate. He's certainly got skill. But I think he brings maybe the power side of his game, which is something that we're looking for. We have a lot of skill on our team, and that's great. You have to be able to score, and you want to make plays. So he's got the skill side, but I think, with his physicality, I think he's going to hopefully find a role for us.
Just over here, I know, and to follow up on Evander Kane, I know he hasn't had the surgery yet, but do you have an expected timeline for him right now in terms of when he can come back?
I don't. I mean, he's going to be out for a while. I just don't want to speculate on that. I think our doctors will be able to give you a better handle on that, but he's not going to be here for a while.
It seems like, with the roster, if there's one spot that's a little up in the air or in flux or whatever, given the turnover, it's right defense. How would you kind of categorize the battle there?
Yeah, I think we have a few players to mention. Obviously, Stetcher was here last year, but he got injured. He didn't get a chance to play very much. And then we've got Brown and Emberson. So those three righties are probably going to show us what they can do in training camp and where they fit on our team. I would expect all of them to play a role for us this year. It's really over the next couple weeks to see who fits where and which one is going to play a bigger role. But I would expect all of them to be a factor for us this year. They bring different elements to their game. Emberson's younger than the other two. The other two are more experienced players. And obviously Brown's a big guy, and he's physical, he's strong. Stetcher has, even though he's a smaller guy, he plays bigger. He's a competitive defenseman with a combination of skills. So I think that's one of the things I'm excited to see is how it unfolds over the next couple weeks here. But we have to sort that part of our game out. That is obviously one thing that's not settled yet. And that's the good thing that's why we have camp and exhibition games to try to figure out who's going to be where.
That's Stan Bowman, Edmonton Oilers GM, meeting with the Edmonton media today. On Bouchard, Gager, he said nothing yet. That's probably down the road here, but it seems like talks will pick up throughout the season, maybe next offseason, but that's going to be a big payday. On Darnell Nurse, he says they want to be cautious and take things as we go. I think it's going to be similar, not exactly the same to Ekholm, where you want him for the regular season. You don't, if he can get into a game towards the end of the preseason, sure, but it's not a big deal if he doesn't, because Darnell Nurse is a vet. He knows what it takes. And then the big question here, and it's probably the one that we're going to discuss up until the team is selected, it's right defense. He said Emberson, Brown, and Stetcher, those three guys have an excellent opportunity and see where they're going to land. But what did you take away from the Oilers, Jim?
Well, just I think it's a mature, calculated way to start the season with a few pieces of the puzzle that aren't available, right? So I liked how he explained the effectiveness of Emberson, Stetcher. How is that going to look? And just I think it's a team that really knows that. Look, the 82 game schedule is a long,
it's a grueling
grind to get to where they need to be. But it seems a little bit more calculated. Where I don't think you'll see the start that you saw last year. But I think it's a team that knows what it takes, and now really knows what it takes at the most important time. And you'll see they should be a good enough team, even though those pieces that aren't available, to still be successful in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, so I think Emerson's going to get the first look, followed by Stetcher, and then Josh Brown's going to get mixed in there. I still think he's going to be your seventh. And just quickly, Buffalo Sabres had their first on-ice practice, and Rasmus Dahlin left, hurt. Yeah, and Lindy Ruff's, that team just
can't.
Oh, man. You almost feel bad for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's another team and they always start great, and then they fall off a cliff by the end. The one thing is, if you are going to have a key player on an organization go down, I mean, it's tough to replace him, but they've got Power and Byram too, right?
Yeah.
They're stacked.
They're good.
So you're not going to replace that, and obviously he's a huge part. And I think didn't he break Phil Housley's record for points to start a season? He got 17 or 18 points or something ridiculous like that to start. But it's that's unfortunate because he's a fantastic player.
Brett B on the Nasty Chat says Buffalo told the Decade of Darkness Oilers hold their beer.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, that whole city there's like a curse. There's a bad curse on that.
There's a good chat going on there between, I think, Carmen, Brett B, I think Smitty the Welder's in there as well. They're talking about the Oilers' right defense. One player he did mention was Vasily Podkolzin. Intriguing guy, Gager. We heard Israel Fair say there's something there with this guy, but don't expect him to be a two-way guy. This guy is just a scorer. He even said, he's not a playmaker.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mind going to the tough areas, but I think this is a guy that I'm going to be watching the most because I'm intrigued by him. He's going to be a bottom six guy, but if he can produce, let's say, 8 to 10 goals in that role, I think he'd take it.
Fresh start, right? I think it's important. We've had people from out in Vancouver talk about this guy. There was high hopes, and then it kind of fell off a little bit. Very physical, which I like.
Yeah,
that's everyone that we've heard talk about him says that he is not afraid of the physicality of the game, right? And if I've said it before, sometimes just a change of scenery, and especially when you come into a dressing room, and not that there's some there's some superstars in that Canucks room, but you're coming into a room with, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. These are the upper echelon of the skill of the world, essentially.
Yeah.
So practicing with those guys every day, the whole mantra of the team is all gas, no brake, from what I hear in the Oilers dressing room now. So, I think it's going to be completely different for him. And in the text line, 780-218-9999, Norm in a combine. Gager, thank you for saving LTE from certain death. Actually, Norm, it was just me saving myself from having to do the morning show for the next 2 weeks because Eric was definitely going to be out at least 2 to 6.
He was in one. He's such a great guy. I absolutely love LT. Carmen says Podkolzin shoots the puck a crazy amount per game, just can't score. Well, that's a problem if you're going to be called a goal scorer.
Well, you know what? I don't mind that either. If he's directing pucks to nets,
put him on net.
Like one of the best things I always thought about Sam Gagner is if he had nothing, that puck was getting on net, and the goalie had to make a save. Yeah. And if the worst case scenario was an offensive face-off, right?
Yeah.
Getting by your fourth line, I like it.
Just nothing bad's going to happen when you direct pucks at the net.
Yeah,
all it takes is a goalie gaff, a deflection, just anything.
Anything. Just make the goalie make a save. Try to go there for rebounds. That's what you want. You want guys that aren't afraid to shoot the puck, because what that happens then is if there is some chemistry and he starts playing with the same player on a consistent basis, they know that, okay, he's getting the puck here. It's a shot. He's there with the puck. I'm going to the net looking for garbage.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one last one here from Brent Piskilvich says, so many people on different teams name chasing when it comes to Kessel. He's too slow and out of shape. But just imagine the content on the morning show. Phil Kessel signed with the Oilers. It would be top notch. But we're just ahead of Daniel Nugent-Bowman from the Athletic. We'll continue our conversation on the Edmonton Oilers as they'll hit the ice for the first time tomorrow down at Rogers Place. That's coming up next here on EST Afternoons. But first, here's Zach with a sports update.
TJ Oshie will be placed on the Capitals' LTIR this season due to a chronic back issue. Oshie released a statement regarding the injury saying, quote, I remain committed to the process and am working and doing my best to regain total health. Oilers general manager Stan Bowman announced this morning that Evander Kane will undergo surgery. Kane's timeline is unknown, but the Oilers say they will not place him on the LTIR. Mike Hoffman joins the Oilers on a PTO. Hoffman was drafted by the Sens in 2009 and has scored at least 10 goals in each of the last 9 seasons. Rogers Communications has reached an agreement with Bell Media worth $3.46 billion to purchase parts of the Maple Leafs Sports and Entertainment Group. This means Rogers now owns the majority of the Leafs, Raptors, Jays, and Argonauts. Stars forward Jason Robertson requires surgery on his foot and will miss training camp. Robertson recorded 80 points last year for the team and is expected to be good for the start of the season. Just after the break, Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic will join Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage here on EST Afternoons. I'm Zach for your Edmonton Sports Talk update.
Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
You've always known GCL Diesel as the experts in diesel fuel systems, but did you know that GCL is also your source for turbochargers and turbo repair? As a turbo supplier for Garrett, Borg Warner, and Holset, GCL can provide genuine original equipment turbos at wholesale prices. Whether it's diesel, gas, natural gas, or performance, we can provide you with the turbo or custom repair you require. Turbo questions? We've got turbo answers. Visit us in the West End or online at GCLDiesel.com. GCL Diesel, turbochargers, understood.
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper, it deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Marketing, they specialize in promotional products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at the ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always the ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
.24 here on EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, Zach Kubusch joining you here. Lots of Oiler talks as they had their medicals and fitness testing, and a large number of media down there as both 4 or 5 players spoke, as well as the GM Stan Bowman. And to continue the Oilers talk, we are now joined by Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic. DMB, how was the offseason?
Very busy. I feel like I'm still unwinding. We bought a house, so that ate up a lot of the off season, and we actually just moved in last week. So there are still boxes all over the place. So one of the hardest things today was finding some clothes to wear to the rink. So things will get easier, I'm sure, in the coming days and weeks. But didn't really, I did spend most of the from July 4th or 5th onward was largely off until after Labor Day. But with all the stuff that we have to do, it didn't really feel too relaxing. I think work would have been a little bit easier.
It was a short off season, just like the players, right? DMB, and congrats on
exactly. That's right.
Congrats on the new house. One of the big stories coming out of today. Evander Kane, he's got a lot of injuries to deal with. He is going to go for surgery. A timeline, he said, we'll see. But what's next here for the Edmonton Oilers and Evander Kane in your eyes, DMB?
Yeah, just that. Wait and see. You know what? I just had a piece go up at The Athletic maybe half hour ago or so, maybe not even that long ago. But, to me, it's just with Evander Kane, it's almost like he's kind of become I don't want to be disparaging, but almost like an afterthought. I mean, in the way that Jeff Jackson, who was the acting GM for free agency, went out and acquired Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, the top 6 is set. Chris Knobloch seems intent on wanting to start at least training camp and into the year, ideally for him with that checking line that was so good in the Stanley Cup final in Adam Henrique, Connor Brown, and Matthias Janmark. So like that top 9 is set, and of course, like they obviously knew. The Evander Kane, was going to have some health complications as he did, in his words, dating back to the end of October of last season. So we're talking about almost a full year now. But, it's been a tough couple of years for this guy after getting hurt in November 2022 with that devastating wrist injury. He's just had a lot of that was, as I said, devastating. And then he's had a lot of, nagging injuries. As he said, it started, this past season, as it pertains to last season, started at the end of October, got worse. And by the playoffs, it was very bad. So, he couldn't even say that he's going to play this year. I would guess I would say that he would, but that's not a certainty. And the Oilers are budgeting for him to come back in terms of their cap, but in terms of their roster, if everyone's healthy, it's hard to see how Evander Kane really fits into this team right now.
Daniel, don't worry. It should only be about another 3 or 4 months till you actually feel like you've moved into your house. So that's good. But
my parents are going on 35 years, so if it's 3 or 4 months, I'll take that.
Looking at last year's team, we talked about the captain skates and there was the talk about it's cup or bust. I know it's only been a day, but how has it changed, do you see, from last year to this year with this team and trying to get back to where they were within a stone's throw of winning the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, clearly that loss was very devastating. You get to Game 7, you lose by a goal, really, and that if you don't end up getting over the hump in your career at some point, that could be, something that you'll think about forever. And of course, as we know, there are a handful of guys that won't get that chance because they've moved on, CC, Broberg, Holloway, Fogle, Desharnais. I mean, there's a fair amount of turnover on this team. But for the guys that are remaining, I think they're trying to channel their emotions in the right way and try to use it as fuel. The good thing for them, I think, is this roster, at least on paper, should be better. Now that it's a bit older, as we've seen, talking about Evander Kane, there's already some injury concerns. And when you have, the oldest team in the league getting even older, injury complications can arise. So there's not a lot of question marks on this team. Aside from right defense, which Stan Bowman even said that today that is an issue that they're going to kind of monitor and kind of have to figure out here throughout the weeks and months ahead. But I think for the guys that are returning, it's about kind of channeling this the right way. I think that didn't happen last year. We talked about the cup or bust, and it took a long time for guys to treat the 2023-24 season as a new season compared to losing in the second round of Vegas. That loss really ticked them off, not because of the way that they lost this past summer, I guess it was, to Florida. But they felt like they beat themselves, and they felt like they lost. They were the superior team, and they lost to Vegas, and that. It pissed them off, and they didn't channel that the right way. I think they're about trying to figure that out and use that kind of as a positive as well as they can, obviously trying to overcome something that was so devastating.
Daniel, like you said, this roster is pretty close to set. There's a few battles going on. Can you name one or two players that you're going to have a keen eye on here as they hit the ice tomorrow?
Yeah, firstly, as I mentioned, like the right side of the defense is intriguing to me, right? Like behind Evan Bouchard, it's open season and it's an open competition, and they bring in Josh Brown. I think 3-year contract, I think is a way that just to get that player as a replacement for Vinny Desharnais. Obviously, make the CC for Emerson trade, and that's more of a cap move, but. Replacing those two players will swap as right defensemen. And then you bring back Troy Stetcher, who really wasn't used because they had their 6 healthy defensemen with Philip Broberg in the minors still at that point. So he wasn't really given much of a shot before, obviously, bowing out partway through the playoffs and having surgery. So Stan Bowman said those guys, he thinks they'll all factor into the Oilers season this year. To bring different skill sets, but the issue with this team in the last couple of years has just to varying degrees been Darnell Nurse's partner and that number 4/number 2 right side D, and there's no for all the warts and people that complain about Cody Ceci and Vincent Desharnais, having around 100 games of NHL experience and having not a large track record, and Philip Broberg kind of the same deal. I think there are more question marks about that position than they were last season. So that's the main one. I kind of wrote about it today in terms of other battles. I think for center is really interesting, although I'd give a pretty strong edge to Derek Ryan there. And then you're looking up and down the lineup, and you think about kind of little tinkerings maybe that Chris Knobloch can do. I think he wants to start the year with McDavid between Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins, and Draisaitl with 2 new wingers, Arvidsson and Skinner. I think the intention for signing Arvidsson was to put him with Draisaitl, and certainly McDavid and Hyman have that chemistry. So I wonder if later in camp or into the season, you could see some kind of flipping with those left wingers, Nugent-Hopkins and Skinner. Also, can Adam Henrique kind of move up and be in the top 6, and maybe the logical guy to drop down, I think, would be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, given his ability to play center. So there's a lot of different permutations to the lineup. Maybe not as much as last year, where you had a lot more guys that could play different positions. But I think those are the battles, with obviously that right defense spot being the one that you really want to hone in on.
Is the Hoffman PTO, is that more of a, I mean, obviously it builds a little bit more, gets that competitive juices flowing throughout camp, but I mean, you've mentioned this forward group, it's pretty stacked. I don't know where Hoffman fits in unless it is a top 6 role. Is this him kind of maybe showcasing himself in this long preseason stretch, or is it more of a maybe just a safety valve to see how things go in camp and protect against maybe some other injuries?
I think you just hit the nail on the head at the very end there. I have a hard time seeing him being on the roster barring injuries, and they probably need a couple injuries, and they probably need to be I was going to say top 6, but certainly top 9 guys. I mean, Hoffman is a scorer, doesn't penalty kill, doesn't do a lot of those, two-way kind of defensive game. And there's not a power play rule for them. And that, to kind of branch off, that's what intrigues me to see how Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner are going to do, because those guys are not going to get very much power play time. We see how much the big boys take up here. So you need 5-on-5 scorers, kind of in your middle 6. You need guys that can do different things. And I don't see Mike Hoffman, especially at this stage of his career, being able to do that too much, quite frankly. So yeah, I think it's going to, I think he's going to need some injuries to get onto this roster, or maybe some underperformance from the guy that you'd point to, obviously, would be Vasily Podkolzin, who should have a real leg up to make this team as somebody who's acquired in the offseason, somebody who requires waivers in order to be sent down to the American League, and certainly is kind of like your Dylan Holloway replacement at 30% of the cost or whatever it is. So I don't see Hoffman being a huge having much of a chance. I would, quite frankly, the other PTO and Travis Dermott, I think he has a lot more of a chance given the uncertainty. He's a left shot, but he can play the right side and provide some flexibility. I see him as a strong camp. Perhaps having a chance, at least a chance, certainly more so than Mike Hoffman, to make the team.
Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic joining us here on EST Afternoons. One last one for you, Daniel. The Oilers yesterday announced they mutually parted ways with assistant GM Brad Holland. I mean, this wasn't very a surprising move here by the Edmonton Oilers, was it?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, when your dad leaves an organization, you probably are not going to stay too. But I would say, in getting to know Brad Holland a little bit over the last couple of years, he's really tried to forge his own path. Certainly he thinks quite differently than his dad. I would say he thinks quite more along the lines of Jeff Jackson than his own dad. Very analytically inclined, more new school, all those types of things, versus Ken Holland, who Hall of Fame general manager, don't get me wrong, but certainly more, the bird dog, the scout, the guy who forged relationships in this league for a few decades. So, I mean, there are a couple of different ways to go there. I wouldn't say it's a massive surprise, but I would also say that when Jeff Jackson came on, some of the things that Brad Holland had been pitching were starting to be listened to and actually, taken into account under Jeff Jackson. Like he had been a proponent of hiring Danny Ryland Kearney, for instance. Certainly a guy that wanted Michael Parcati. So hired in the analytics department. So yeah, I mean, I think Brad Holland, was starting to make some traction there. But again, when his dad left the organization, I would say probably even unceremoniously. I think it's for the best sake of him. I don't want to speak for him, but it probably makes the most sense to move on and to go somewhere else.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. Great stuff, and I'll probably see you down at the rink sometime here in the next month or so. All the best with the new house.
Thank you so much. Great talking with you guys, and I'll see you later.
Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And he breaks it down.
Yeah, he breaks it down. It's good.
It was interesting what he said about Brad Holland, where they were kind of listening to his ideas and the way he wanted to do things, and then this happens, right? Like it's makes you think a bit.
Well, and the key, I think, in that, when he was talking about that, was the trying to forge his own path, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, you as a... your dad's a Hall of Fame GM, and you're kind of following in the footsteps, but you want to try to go on your own, and obviously taking philosophies that your dad had, but also trying to implement what kind of your vision of what it takes to win a Stanley Cup too.
Yeah, so we'll continue on here as we close out the show. Coming up next, we'll continue with some Oiler talk. We'll get to the nasty chat. We'll get to the inbox at 780-218-9999. And since you hit 50 thumbs up before the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to watch the performance of the night at the ESTYs as Josh Clausen and Zachticum. What a duo. What a performance. That's all coming up next. But here's Zach with an update.
TJ Oshie is set to be placed on the LTIR for the Capitals with a chronic back issue. Oshie released a statement regarding the injury saying, quote, "I remain committed to the process and am working and doing my best to regain total health." Rogers Communication buys out Bell Media to become the majority owner of the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Group. The $4.7 billion deal is expected to close in mid-2025 and gives Rogers 75% ownership of the group that owns the Leafs, Jays, Raptors, and Marlies. My apologies, not the Jays, the Argos, but Rogers are the sole owners of the Blue Jays. Oilers forward Evander Kane will undergo surgery and has no expected return date. GM Stan Bowman says the team will not place Kane on the LTIR. Forward Mike Hoffman joins the Oilers on a PTO. Hoffman was drafted back in 2009 for the Senators and has played for Ottawa, San Jose, St. Louis, and the Montreal Canadiens. Stars forward Jason Robertson requires surgery on his foot and will miss the entirety of training camp. Robertson recorded 80 points last year for the team and is expected to be good to go for the start of the season. Just after the break, Hernan Gage will be back here on EST Afternoons. I'm Zach for your EST Update.
Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of Injury Law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Edmonton Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key, influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. Oilers and Elks, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the association, Formula One, soccer, golf, oh sweet mama! The excitement is palatable on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's where fans go to get their sports fix and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website and send a message at edmontonsportstalk.com.
2:42, Edmonton Sports Talk. Static free since 23. We're coming to you live from the William Hub Studios. It's EST Afternoons. Hernan Salas, Joaquin Gage, and the one and only Zachticum. Man, last night was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Little inter-office play with some texting and photos of the office. raising some eyebrows and some laughs there was good. But what a time last night. Just
a lot of beauties.
Just trying to remember again all the different things that actually happened that were fun to watch. And this is one of them. Like we were sitting there, and you're grabbing me like crazy. Like you almost got arrested for how much you grabbed me during this performance. Unbelievable job by Clausen and Zach. You're a star on the rise, kid, and keep doing it. Fantastic job last night.
Yeah, and we got to meet a lot of beauties. Damon Bunting.
Oh my gosh,
man.
I talked to him for like half an hour at Hudson's last night. He is so great. He is, and yeah, he's. You know when you meet genuine people, like they're just genuine. Like he's a real guy, just a nice guy. And we talked about his business and the golf tournament, and it just every time I see that guy, I just want to. He's like the sun. And his gravitational pull to get into a conversation is it's tough to get out of.
He's like you said, he's real. And there was a heated conversation going on about the CFL. A few beers were being had, and he was standing there with me, and he was just loving it. He's like, "This is great! Like, what a great guy." Beaumont Dusty says, "Gager, I was too shy to come talk to you." LOL.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Sorry. Yeah. Everyone else did. I had the twins that were hilarious. But yeah, I know a lot of people came up to me and said, "Well, you finally showed up to one of these things." And sorry, I had prior commitments. I will do my best to get out to all future EST events and press the flesh, so to speak, and meet every one of you. Probably my favorite part of the entire evening is people coming up to me, and it's been mentioned before, but they say, "Hi," I go, "Hi, Joaquin," and then they say hi, their name, but then they say their handle.
Yeah.
And then the light bulb goes off, right? So,
it's you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you. So it's great to put the handle to the face, and please don't be shy. I don't bite.
Beaumont Dusty says, "You and Bunting were deep in combo. Didn't want to interrupt." Brett B says, "Kicking myself for not introducing myself to the Heat. I was back to back with you last night at one point in the lobby. Same with Gage. Don't be shy. We're the nicest guys here, right?"
Yeah. And I love this Big Uke. ESTYs are better when Gager wears leather. That's I don't know. I added a little bit, not as much as some people, which made it such a fantastic night, buddy.
Zach, I know we got to wait a bit here for the video, but how were the nerves? Because it was well into the show, and you're sitting there, and you had already won an award, but to perform, it must have been a little bit unsettling just sitting there waiting for that moment.
Well, it was, and I knew in the back of my mind that I would be up there, with Trev presenting an award. I thought that was it was so ill prepared that we actually just walked up there, and we were arguing earlier in the day. Like, we talked about it. He was like, I'm like, "So what are we going to do?" And he was sitting right where I am behind the computer. I come up to him during a break, and he's just like, "Well, I could read, the nominees and the winner, and you could do the speech." I'm like, "Well, okay." So I was sitting there the entire show, and it was in the back of my mind, and the nerves kept building and building and building. But once I got on stage that first time and, accepted the award, I was very nervous walking up there. I was shaking in my boots. I felt so wired accepting that award because I just felt so great about it. It made me so happy, and just to deliver his speech, crazy. Never would have thought in my life that, one, I would be receiving an award, and two, be performing a rap, and three, with Josh Clausen live at the there's so many layers to this that it just feels like a fever dream almost. But I got up there, and he gave me the confidence and inspiration to be able to actually perform as Zachticum.
Yeah, and Trevor too, his speech got a little emotional, and I'm getting older, man. I get emotional too. I was it was great.
I said this on the hang. I was so glad that I didn't go up there because I would have probably been a blubbering mess because Trev was awesome. Just to get that raw emotion, and you could see it.
It's straight from the heart.
so happy. And you know, when he said, you know, I took a chance on myself. I didn't know anyone here, and now I have, you know, 300 friends, which is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it's a community. And what did you say, Zach? What did you refer EST to? I don't want to mess it up.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not Edmonton Sports Talk. It's an endlessly supportive team. I messed it up anyway. But
yeah, you messed it up again. Jesus. Yeah, I give you a moment and you messed that up.
At least I got my lyrics right.
At least you got the lyrics right. But yeah, I mean, it is. And it's the one thing about, I think, the when you meet people that have been listening to Dusty and Eric and Maddie and Tommy for so long, the ability for those guys to make everyone feel part of something, and like they say, God, it just must be, I can't tell you how many people, must be such a great place to be every day, like to work with you guys. And I mean, I've most of my life I've been in locker rooms, and this is just another big locker room where there's no egos.
No,
you know?
no.
There's nothing like that. And I've played on some pretty crappy teams with a lot of bad egos. And yeah, I feel we're all lucky to be part of this.
And even today, we're all here, like everybody's here at the same time, and we're all just like laughing and having a good time. Yeah. And for those who don't know, Fergie's Prostate did bring Gager a team burger.
Yeah.
So Tommy's off the hook.
Yeah, well, he's not off the hook completely. Tommy pulled a move last night that I can't believe. Like, what a boss move at Hudson's to bring your own USB stick with your interviews on there and put it on the big screen so you can look like a bigger deal than you actually are. And you could see him, like talking to the opposite sex a little bit and pointing to the screen, you know, making sure he was right under. People pointing, is that you? Yes, that's me. I know. I'm kind of he did the whole Ron Burgundy. I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Frankie Fingers on the Nasty Chat says, John T. and Victoria's speech got to me too. That was really nice too.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was great. And he's done some great work for the station, the songs. Like, I know it was the morning show song that won, but even his remix with Atif and what is it? I Am For Real? Yeah, Jarius Jacks. Yeah. For real. So that was great. But it was overall great night. The sponsors that were there, just Dusty and Eric did a great great show bringing everybody in the intro there. Eric was just outstanding. Yeah. And kudos to Maddie who set it all up. That guy can run an award show.
He
Put
can
that on the resume.
He can run anything, man. Like, geez, wow. It's that was very impressive.
Brett says, Tommy the Branch has game. Beaumont Dusty says, my wife was swooning over at Handsome Tom.
Oh, yeah. She's only human.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think David Bunting's going to give Tom a nice run for his money.
Yeah. Well, I said it. Trev's knocked Tom off Tiger Beat magazine, the cover, for the first time in years around here. So
yeah, Zach, we got the video ready here to go. If you weren't at the ESTYs, this is a performance. Josh Clausen, Zachticum. The beef is over, and this is what they brought last night. Enjoy.
Great beat in the ESTYs, so let's go. Everybody say, all gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. You win the championship, slam parades. Hey, it's all gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. You win the championship, so plan parades. Let's kick it off. Got a champions team, the city of champs for the gold and the green. Keeping it up on the waves in the street. Dusty, Trev, and LTE. Maddie, I, Tommy D, Jay, and Jasmine. After that, it's 1 to 3. We got the smoker cooking up with the Latino heat. We go live. 3 Wilkins J Mill to glue the scenes. Man, it's a dream. It's just been a year, but it's clear no one else got us beat. Our own beer and our own booze. And now this. Hard to believe. Great host, better guess, all work, no breaks, no rest. Get the champ, hit the mark.
Unbelievable, buddy.
All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. I got it stuck in your head. I'll get it stuck in your head.
Oh, man.
Wait for the EP, guys. Come on. That's only the single.
I'm sure there'll be shirts made up with that mantra on there. All gas, no brake.
Brett B says, freaking chills. My God. Trent H says, effing epic. Double A says, well job, Koob. This is gold. Zach Attack. Wow. And then Beaumont Dusty is selling it now. If anyone needs a copy, I have the original. All gas, no brakes was what we were all singing there. But Zach, man, what a performance, buddy.
I might have to take it up with Napster or something there. Like if, it's my original piece, right?
Yeah.
We might, Dusty was saying he might want that recorded. So we might have to get in the studio, me and Josh, we get an album under the EST label, be like Death Row Records.
Yeah, this one from Brandon Patricio says, Zachticum, why don't you rap the news updates, bro? You won't miss a beat.
I should try, I could do that with I don't know, some UFC news. Usually with the name that I know, if I rap it, I guess it could work.
Mitch here says, oh my God, wow. Brett B, if Zach didn't have a significant other before, he sure as hell will have a few coming for him now.
I'm my own significant. That was great.
Smitty the Welder says, great work, Zach. All gas, no brakes. Love it. Yeah,
If that can't get us to 100 likes, you gotta give the next 21 likes to Zach about that.
They're for Zach. Yes.
They're for Zach, not for Hernan.
100 thumbs up for Zachticum because he stole the show along with Josh Clausen, who's an absolute beauty.
Oh, just great. Great.
I saw him yesterday. He goes, I saw you the day before because he came to meet with Zach. He goes, you look busy. I'm like, that's just the way I look. I'm not busy. Yeah. Like, you can always come say hi. I'll always have time to talk. What did your parents think of your performance?
They thought it was great. Like, I kind of went up to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm doing this live performance with Josh. I told her about it and she was like, oh, okay. and so I performed it and she's like, wow, that was really good. But I didn't get the smoker or the Latino heat part. Isn't that offensive or something? And I'm like, no, it's okay. You don't get it. So she saw it. So she saw it live and she was just like, holy cow, that was awesome. And Josh, man, like I can't thank him enough. That was so much fun. That was crazy. I'm glad I poked the bear and started the beef.
Hey, listen, Tube Sock Son was awesome as well. Like, great voice. Fergie's prostate was great on the bagpipes to get everybody into their seats. So, I think all three performances were top notch, but the rap one just threw me for holy smokes.
That was great.
We got to wrap up here. We got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne coming up. They got a great show planned for you. I want to thank Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators and Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic. Tomorrow, we're going to have Oiler Lines. It's going to be another fun show. Make sure to join us at 1 o'clock. And we'll do a little bit of Oilers, NFL, and CFL. For Joaquin Gage and Zach Kubusch, I am Hernan Salas. Thank you for tuning in to EST Afternoons. Reminder, you can catch all our content wherever you get your podcasts or watch us back on YouTube. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. The Reed Wilkins Show is up next.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.